throughout the nation and around the globe. From his heart to yours, it's Dearjames Live, bringing you intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, receive the unseen wisdom, the guidance, and we go as guided. And we have beautiful energies, subtle energies, and yet profound energies for this moment. And they really extend beyond this week. And of course, all the shows do. All of the wisdom from the unseen is eternal. It's limitless, if you will. With that said, let me jump in because there's a lot to cover, and jump in and put in a shout out. Welcome Sue, welcome Alicia in the comments, and remember we incorporate your comments and questions live throughout the broadcast. So there was this moment where I was looking at the date. Today is May 29th, 2024, and the 29 kept grabbing me over and over again. And of course, as you all may know, if you've been following the shows and everything, in astrology, the 29th degree is known as the anaretic degree. It's a very powerful moment because it denotes a shift, a momentum in one thing ending and something new beginning. So this 29th degree, this anaretic degree. And I kept looking at the number 29, and all I kept seeing was this void, like just the purity of the void. And this stillness. And I'm like, okay. And of course, hexagram 29 is abyss. So it's literally kind of like staring into the abyss, into this blackness, the void. And its action is to relinquish. So hexagram 29 is the abyss and relinquish. And there was this awareness of like, okay. After this stillness, this abyss, is this illumination, this kind of, and the dawn. And so, welcome Elizabeth, welcome Ava. And so, our main theme for this week is Standstill, the power and joy of new beginnings. And you'll see on the screen, there's this beautiful spiral of a sunflower. And the still point, the constant, the still point is its center. It's at the spiral, which is eternal, which is what we all are. And so what the unseen is giving us in this main theme is that we all are at this standstill moment, this void, it's as if we're suspended animation, like in a suspended state. And it may appear as though things are not moving forward. It may appear as though maybe you're stuck or stagnant or the energies aren't flowing yet. And yet there's this beautiful, what the unseen is saying to me in this moment is, there's this beautiful prism that comes from the void, that comes from this standstill. And the prism is the illumination, the dawn, the burst of light. And we're right at that 29th degree, that anaretic moment where it just bursts forth. And the beauty and the power, so the power and the joy of new beginnings. And so there obviously new beginnings are on tap. Elizabeth is saying the standstill makes perfect sense. Exactly. Welcome, Olivia. Exactly. It's just so, and it gives me joy. I mean, I was literally struggling with, I do coordinate somewhat, am I wearing what shirt, what color, what, am I wearing a jacket? And I kept going back and forth between black, the void, black, and then purple. The color of the moving mist in the introduction and everything. And I chose purple because I chose the power and joy of new beginnings. And it's not to discard the purity of the void, this standstill moment, this stillness. It's powerful, it's active, and it's harmonious, it's beneficial. I just chose to leap forward in the power and joy of new beginnings. So let's jump in. And Alicia is just commenting, I'm dealing with a long, ongoing, difficult situation. This weekend, out of the blue, an image popped into my mind from the point of view of being in a tunnel. At the end, closer than I might expect, was a blue sky, light at the end of my tunnel, I hope. Exactly. This is exactly, it's that, like it's darkest before the dawn, and that whole piece of the stillness, the standstill, the void, and then illumination, dawn, this bursting forth, and again, the power and joy of new beginnings. The unseen is really hammering that point home. So let's look at the main energies. Welcome, Brigitte. And so here we are, main energies. 5, it's the last of the nourished while waiting, so to speak, in patience. The 5 representing May. Today is the 29th, so it's the abyss, relinquish. And so we're relinquishing the past, relinquishing old beliefs, concepts. We've been going through this. It's all about purifying the vessel, emptying the vessel, and releasing stories, scripts, labels, identities, the past. It's releasing it. 8, it's an 8-year, all year long, and it's this uniting and unite, the coming together from the inside out. Now, the 5, the 29, and the 2024, the 8, can become a 24, but it's also a 42. And the reason it's a 42 is because I left the 29, the power of the 29, whole. So the 5 plus 29 plus 8 becomes a 42. And the 42 is about increase, expand. And that's exactly what the power and joy of new beginnings, it's an increase, it's an expansion. So you'll see that in hexagram 42 in a moment. And then of course it culminates in a 6, conflict, let go. And so the conflict of the past, letting go of the conflict, letting go of it. And it doesn't mean that we don't stand up for ourselves or that we don't face and address the things that are going on in our life. We do. However, we can do it in a manner that liberates us, that allows us to let go of anything we might be holding on to, anger, resentment, frustration, and we just simply deal in the present moment. We deal with the facts. And or is there a future opportunity that will deliver us, and thereby, again, we're not holding on to the past. And Sue is saying, I am doing this. Yes, letting go of the past that doesn't serve me. Exactly. We release what no longer serves us. And there was a beautiful, and I'm going to post this later as we jump in. So we have the main theme of Standstill, the power and joy of new beginnings. And right behind it, the first thing, and it came off of this, it's on America's Got Talent. It's a video. I'm going to post it later. This beautiful man, they called him Mr. Richard. He's a janitor in Terre Haute, Indiana. And he's 55, I recall this. And the point, he sang the song from Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. The purity of his soul, the purity of the fear, to face an audience, and he's never done this before, never flown before, finds himself in California. And the moral of the story with this standstill, the void, and then this bursting forth, illumination, the dawn, and he sang the song by Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. And he did it to the point of a golden buzzer. So the moral of the story is, literally, don't stop believing. It was on the album, the original album from Journey was Escape. And so there's this message of wanting to escape, that it's an anthem, it's a power ballad, all about wanting to progress, wanting to expand, wanting to increase, wanting to move forward, wanting to release the burdens and the weights. And then what was fascinating as well is that it then in 2008 became, on their double album in 2008, it became, the name of the album was Revelation. And just again to reiterate, revelation, the definition of meaning, a surprising and previously unknown fact, especially one that is made known in a dramatic way. It can also mean the divine or supernatural disclosure to humans of something relating to human existence or the world. And so here's this standstill, the power of the void, and then this illumination, this increase, this advance. So now let's jump into the astrological influences, because and last week, I forget what it was, it just flew out of my head, but the moral of the story here is that this week's astrological influences is about truth and consequences. The consequences of our truth. And I left up the three where Sun enters Gemini, Venus enters Gemini, and Jupiter enters Gemini, because it was that 0 degree. So 29 degrees, that anaretic degree, and the ending of something, and then the newness, that revelation, the deliverance, and how powerful that degree was. So now this week, we look at, literally today, Chiron, the wounded healer, is conjunct, meaning with Mars at 22 degrees Aries. And we're going to talk about these Sabian symbols and what they mean. They're powerful because they reinforce this message of the new, the power and joy of the new beginnings, and the release, and not to give up hope and our dreams, and the celebration that comes with that. Because again, we can be tired and weary, and the challenge and the journey can be heavy and long and all of this stuff. And yet there's a liberation here. So today, Chiron conjunct with Mars. On Friday, we have Mercury. So how we think, how we communicate, equipment, things of electronics, all of these things, messenger to the god, is with Uranus, the higher mind, or the Godhead, and in expecting the unexpected. And they are together conjunct in Taurus. And then come Sunday, we have Jupiter trine Pluto at 1 degrees, and Jupiter is in Gemini, it's just entered Gemini, and then Pluto, of course, is in Aquarius. And astrologer Chani Nicholas, who we often refer to on the show, she describes the Jupiter-Pluto trine as a once-in-a-lifetime event. Why? Because Jupiter is now in Gemini, and Pluto in Aquarius. And remember, it's 246 years. So it's only 84 years ago that Jupiter was in Gemini, but it was 240 some years ago that Pluto's in Aquarius. So this combination, and they're trining, it's a harmonious aspect. They are amplifying and magnifying one another. And so that occurrence, Chani Nicholas is describing as a once-in-a-lifetime event occurrence, and how that will play out as this trine occurs, and magnifying the unexpected, and yet Jupiter, the great benefactor, higher mind. So that expect the unexpected, and we've had this playing out. So that's our main, those are the astrological influence, truth and consequences. And we're going to see truth and consequences. It's playing out on the world stage. It can play out and will play out in our personal lives. So let's look at the astrological chart. This astrological chart is for Mercury conjunct Uranus. And so, and with these, and I use this because it's our, like our lower mind and higher mind, or individual mind and higher mind, God mind, coming together, meeting one another. And so from that, when I saw that, I was looking at the chart, and it was literally speaking to collective peace and enjoyment. So this Mercury and Uranus coming together, that creates this collective peace and enjoyment. The Chiron meeting Mars, there's a theme of inner fulfillment and spiritual elevation. And with Jupiter and Pluto, Jupiter trine Pluto, what I heard was avail yourself of the cosmic magnifying glass and megaphone. So things are going to be amplified, things are going to be, we're going to be able to see things with greater clarity, and they may be magnified. So be, again, proactive, and positive aspect of all of this is that things will be more easily processed, more easily revealed, more easily assimilated, more easily understood. So this cosmic magnifying glass and megaphone, this once-in-a-lifetime occurrence or event, inner fulfillment, spiritual elevation, collective peace and enjoyment, and all of that. And I said, okay, so what's the moral of all of this? And I heard the word refinement. So this is our key word, is just bringing it up, refinement. And when we look at this and we think about refinement, it has this beautiful aspect, and the definition of it is the process of removing impurities or unwanted elements from something, the improvement or clarification of something by the making of small changes, these tweaks or adjustments. It's also cultured elegance in behavior or manner. So this whole moment of this anaretic degree, this stillness and standstill of the void before the bursting through, like Alicia was speaking to, the light at the end of the tunnel, is all about our refinement and how we can make individual small changes. We can tweak things, we can remove the impurities or the unwanted elements, as Sue was speaking to, letting go of the past that doesn't serve me. All of these things, and the cultured elegance in behavior or manner. And yes, Sue was saying, like coal into a diamond. Exactly. So under all of this pressure, under all of this, the weight, the burden, the pressure, in that instance, diamonds are made, the most, the strongest mineral, and the beauty that we hold it in reverence, and its finery and everything. And it brought me to, and I've been holding this back for a little while, it brought me to the Wheel of Fortune. And this particular card is from the Tarot of Mystical Moments. And the Wheel of Fortune, it says the central theme of the Wheel of Fortune card is cyclical change. The wheel keeps on rolling, churning events in a ceaseless progression of ups and downs, either way freeing us from the past. No one can escape its cyclical action, which can feel somewhat terrifying. No matter whether we are rising or falling. When one is balanced on top of the wheel, there is a moment of crystal clarity. So you see how this magnifying glass, this megaphone, this cyclical moment, this ending and beginning, and the crystal clarity that comes when the wheel is turning. However, the only part of the wheel that's actually not going up and down is the hub, which represents your eternal self, your soul self. And so your soul is the hub of the wheel. It's the constant, it's the eye of the hurricane and so forth. It's the eye of the storm. And this is from tarot.com. And so every one of us will occupy all the points on the wheel at one point or another. The cycle of the wheel is its lessons, and we can learn to take comfort in it. If you don't like the look of things right now, just wait. Things will change. Of course, if you do like the look of things right now, enjoy it while it lasts, because that too will change. And so there's this beauty on this card, the tarot card of the Wheel of Fortune from Mystical Moments, the refinement in the beauty of her gown, her hair, the coiffed hair. It's very regal. And you see the open hoop skirt, the open dress with all of the mechanisms, the wheel, the mechanisms turning and churning. The beauty of it, when you look very closely, is at the top wheel is the red heart, which means it's heart-based, that the Wheel of Fortune and the cyclical change and everything is divine and neutral. It's pure. The eternal peace, the hub of the wheel, is your soul. So when we see things from a soul perspective, S-O-U-L, soul perspective, we see through, we see the clarity of it, we see the divine neutrality. we pierce the illusion and the veils. And the other thing is you see her elegantly holding like a pocket watch, if you will, a timepiece, which denotes divine time, right time. Everything, you're at the right place at the right time for the right moment. It's all divinely orchestrated. And that's the beauty of this moment. So again, as we're shifting, as we're moving forward, as you may have been waiting for things, the moral of the story is don't stop believing. Because there appears to be, the hopes, the dreams, the wishes, the illumination, the dawn, the light, the deliverance, and the revelation, something being made known. So Elizabeth is saying all of these situations are bringing forward all of the changes I am working to let go of. It's changing my response and seeing that the old way won't work for me anymore. Exactly. To become aware of ourselves, to become aware of our shadow, to become aware of, again, the stories, the scripts, the labels, the identities, the masks, all of this stuff, and to recognize that the old way does not and will not work anymore. We see this on a world stage, and remember, Pluto in Aquarius, it's retrograding right now. It's going to go back into Capricorn for just a short few months, but it's shaking the tree loose, that cosmic tree. It's shaking us free from the past. And then it goes forward again, re-enters Aquarius about mid-November of this year of 2024. And from there on, it's going to be there for 20 years. And again, not since the French, American, and Industrial Revolutions. So not in 240 plus years has this kind of innovation and advance and renewal, newness, and things. And remember the glass bottom boat. It's about, and let me just go to it because it's so, the Sabian symbol that is associated with this is so powerful that it talks to us about the glass bottom boat. And it is where Jupiter is. So Jupiter is in Gemini. And it says Santa Claus furtively filling stockings hanging in front of the fireplace. Its keynote is a rewarded faith in spiritual blessings. The popular allegory refers to the spiritual blessings which come to the pure in heart. We see the pure of heart, the heart on the top mechanism in the Wheel of Fortune card, whose consciousness is likened to that of a little child, polarized by eager expectation and faith in the existence of celestial powers. The pure consciousness, yet solidified by ego and rationalistic arguments, experiences the concrete manifestation of what it has imagined. So it means before we become jaded and before all this life and layering and masks and identities and labels, there's a purity, there's a belief in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and hopes and dreams and wishes. Don't stop believing. And so in this symbol, Santa Claus acts furtively. The gifts from an imagined and intensely believed in spiritual world must not be examined closely or at length by the reasoning intellect. The would-be clairvoyant is told not to look straight and intently at what they begin to see. Instead, they should cast sideways glances at it, since the sharply focused mind would make the apparition vanish. So this is saying, in essence, judgment, perception, the old. We have to take our hands off the wheel. We need to release our grip, quote unquote, on reality, on what we perceive, the old, so that what comes through, what begins to permeate our consciousness and our being is that which has been unseen. And thereby we give it opportunity to come to life, as opposed to stomping it out or killing it, eradicating it before it ever begins. At this stage, we have once more a symbol in contrast to the one for the first stage. To discover the wonders of the normally unconscious depths of the collective psyche, the individual must build the proper kind of vehicle, a glass-bottomed boat. but the reception of new blessings from the spiritual realm above, the superconscious, requires mostly faith and purity of heart and a common type of understanding, represented by the stockings, thus a state of innocence. And so again, there's many times referenced biblically where it says, to inherit the kingdom of God, you must be childlike. Childlike is to have awe and wonder and innocence, this belief in something more, or belief in the unseen. Blessed are those who believe but do not see. There's a faith in it. There's an innocence. There's a purity. There's a goodness. And that allows it, and with this, and Gemini 1 degree, that 0 degree of Gemini that was tripled last week, a glass bottom boat reveals undersea wonders. The revelation of unconscious energies and submerged psychic structures. At this first stage of the discovery process, one can only speak of vision, not identification, meaning we can see it, we can feel it, we can see it, we may not understand it. The feeling is one of wonder. I did not know this could exist. How beautiful, or how exciting. A new dimension of reality is perceived by the earnest inquirer. And we must be earnest. Earnest meaning we're walking the talk, we're on the path, we are emptying our vessel, we are open to the unseen. We are open to the new, that prism of illumination. And not prism, this beautiful, iridescent, fractal prism that brings about the light at the end of the tunnel, the dawn, and the power and joy of new beginnings. Looking directly across Pluto. So this is the Jupiter trine Pluto, once in a lifetime. So we have a new dimension of reality. We have innocence, and this is where Jupiter is. So it's magnifying this, it's amplifying it. And then we have Pluto, and it says an unexpected thunderstorm. The need to develop the inner security which will enable us to meet unexpected crises. An interesting connection can be made between the symbols of Taurus 1 and 2 degrees, a clear mountain stream, and an electrical storm, and those for Aquarius 1 and 2. 270 degrees apart. It's a waning square in terms of astrology, in terms of a cycle of a relationship, such as the lunation cycle. In the first case, we deal with energies or activities that can be related to the natural development of the individual. So a clear mountain stream and an electrical storm is in relation to the individual. However, but here we are primarily concerned with social, collective processes and the function of the individual within them. So Aquarian age is we the people. It's about the collective and how we operate within the collective. So here, the symbol itself, an unexpected thunderstorm, could be given a very positive meaning in an arid environment. But so we're parched, it's arid, we're looking for the water. But the emphasis on unexpected tends to accent the sudden and dangerous character of the event. Such a thunderstorm in a region of dry hills can cause a devastating flood. We're seeing floods, mudslides, a lot of rain all around the globe and everything. And it says such a thunderstorm in a region can bring about devastating floods. At any rate, it refers to an event for which one is not prepared. A menace to humankind's works. This symbol stresses the fact that nature may reduce to impermanence the seemingly most permanent endeavors and constructive activities of humankind. Under a downpour of rain, adobe brick can return to mud. All human institutions and their achievements can be washed away, even in their day of great glory. Dust you were, dust you must become. This is nature's challenge. So here's Pluto, and again, it's retrograding. It's going to go back into Capricorn, an earth sign. It's an unexpected storm, nature's challenge. And it's going to shake the roots of the foundations of humankind's institutions. All human institutions and their achievements can be washed away. It's doing so not to harm us. It's doing so to advance us, to release us from the past, and thereby what's called for. And in Jupiter trine Pluto, trine is a positive, it's a harmonious aspect, which says it's for us. It is not a square, which is abrasive. It's a trine, which is harmonious. And so it's saying innocence leads the way. This purity of heart, this perception and knowing that whatever happens in the washing away of these institutions or achievements or things, and this can equally be the same, as much as it is for governments and institutions and corporations and so forth, it is equally the same and true for individuals. Because of course, what are those all made of? Individuals. And so we have the beauty of this blessing at this standstill moment, that what's assured is the power and joy of new beginnings. And that innocence and purity and goodness prevails. It's what's required. And should we not be in that lane, that mindset, well, it's an unexpected thunderstorm, and it will move you. So if you're clinging to the past, if you're clinging to a person, a place, a thing, a relationship, a business, a way of being, a way of doing, it will wipe it out. It will release it one way or another. So imagine, the beautiful saying, you go with the flow. It's far better to flow with the current than attempt to obstruct it or, swim upstream of it. It's going to tire it. It's going to tire you. So those are the two, with our keyword of refinement, and here again the astrological symbol, just showing you this Mercury conjunct Uranus. So individual mind and higher mind coming together, this collective peace and enjoyment. And there's healing, the Chiron conjunct Mars. It's like the warrior. So here's Mars representing the divine masculine. It's our creative force. It is the divine masculine, and it's conjunct with Chiron, the wounded healer. So we're healing these elements, these wounds, the shadows that have taken us so far off course, that have moved us so far from the purity, the innocence, the goodness of our being, of our institutions, our governments, our way of lives, our choices. It's healing this because it brings about inner fulfillment and spiritual elevation. So let's just take a look while we're on Chiron conjunct Mars. And let's look at this. So here's Chiron, the symbol, the Sabian symbol from Dane Rudyard and Astrological Mandala. Chiron is a pregnant woman in light summer dress. And its keynote is fecundity. Masculine aggressiveness and the woman's desire for fulfillment are integrated and realized in the expected child. This threefold sequence can be seen operating at several levels, and the third term, the child, can take various emotional and cultural forms. The basic meaning remains the same. Summer is the period of fruition. Man, humankind, at the receptive woman, divine feminine, woman level, reaps the fruits of their dynamic activity. It's inner fulfillment, it's spiritual elevation, it's progeny, it's the continuation, the advance of our individual lives and families and lines and so forth in societies. This symbol combines the two preceding ones and suggests inner fulfillment. Mars is about, its Sabian symbol is blown inward by the wind. The curtains of an open window take the shape of a cornucopia. So you see blessings, cornucopia, Santa Claus fervently stuffing stockings. We had the glass bottom boat, the awe and wonder of the unseen, of what we couldn't imagine or literally see before. Openness to the influx of spiritual energies. So there's an openness to the influx, opening up to receive. and yet we're not staring at it directly so that we judge it and diminish it before it ever takes flight. The principle of abundance is brought to a further stage in this rather cryptic symbol. Physical fruition is shown operating at a more subtle and spiritual level. The wind, the pneuma, spirit, blows through the open mind window and brings into the house of personality a promise of more than material potency. So this symbol is talking about the fact that the unseen, a revelation, this power and joy of new beginnings, that it breaks through, the illumination, the dawn, the breakthrough, and that it's more than material potency. We've been in a patriarchal rule dominated by material potency. And this says to the personality, to the ego mind personality, the house, there's a promise of more than material potency. Wind blows from a region of high pressure to one of low pressure. As the window curtains are blown inward, the individual consciousness represented by the house is receiving a more concentrated influx of spiritual energies, enabling this consciousness to extend the scope of its awareness and creative expression. So ego mind personality, the way it was, the old, the past, the labels, the identities, the masks, it's locked down, it's hardened. This is exactly the opposite. It's windows blowing in through, it's wind in open windows blowing through to create a cornucopia. It's spiritual energies, it's blessings, it's expansion of the awareness and the consciousness of humanity, of individuals. And it will occur at varying degrees, at varying times, the Wheel of Fortune. However, it will always be divine and neutral, heart-centered, innocent, pure, good, for us. And it will be right on time, divine time. The message applying to this symbol is that inner growth demands not just an open mind, but one able to provide a container for a spiritual harvest. The cornucopian shape of the window's curtains suggests that the subtler, translucent aspect of the mind, the curtains, has acquired a plastic quality, enabling it to be molded by transpersonal forces. Higher mind. Uranus, higher mind. So Mercury conjunct Uranus. So it's saying that the aspect of the mind, the curtains, has acquired an elasticity, enabling it to be molded by Uranus, higher mind, Godhead, source, the unseen. And that is what's so beautiful about this Chiron and Mars coming together at these, because it's saying that that's what's going to be healed. Mars representing the divine masculine. It's saying all of these elements are being healed, or we're being advanced. The old is being released, dismantled. Now, and with that, the second thing that the unseen said was, into the woods. I just heard into the woods. And as I looked it up, I knew I had a reference, a vague reference, but it was literally about into the woods. And there's a movie. It's Meryl Streep and James Corden and Emily Blunt. And what they said was into the woods, breaking a long-held spell, renewal at long last. And so this is saying to us, this Chiron conjunct Mars, Mercury conjunct Uranus, Jupiter trine Pluto, this standstill moment before the illumination, the dawn, and the power and joy of new beginnings, is that it's a breaking a long-held spell. It's going to break a long-held spell and renewal at long last. And so this into the woods, and what's so funny is in the movie Into the Woods, there is a spell, and they meet, the characters in the film meet all of these fairy tale characters, Jack and the Beanstalk, Snow White, there's others, I'm trying to remember them all, but in essence, so again, don't stop believing, the innocence, the purity, the goodness, and how they actually restore the purity and the goodness of life through their innocence, through their belief that anything's possible. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't make it any less true. We have examples historically, biblically. There are many things around the globe in our history as human beings on planet Earth that still exist, that we still, in this current year of 2024, lack the ability to explain its existence or how it came to be. And that would be the moral. That's the point that the unseen is giving us, is suspend our disbelief. Don't stop believing. Suspend disbelief. Open your vessel. Open your mind, your spirit, your being, and empty out the old so as to make room for the new that will come. It's a fait accompli. It's an absolute. And as it does, it may be in a glimpse. It may be in a dream. It may be a meditation. Alicia is saying Stonehenge and the pyramids, the pyramids of Giza. There are so many examples of these items that exist that we have no explanation for. We cannot replicate. We have no explanation for. This moment is, the unseen is saying to us how this permeates our consciousness and our being. It may come to us again in our dream state, in our waking state, in our meditation state, in nature. And we may literally have moments of this lucid realizations. And what they are imploring us to do is to not judge them, is to not reject them, is to not deny them. Because the more open we are, the more we just let it be, hands off the wheel, let us sit with it, the more present it becomes. Because we're giving it opportunity, life. We're allowing it to be one with us. And that's what's here and on offer. And it goes with number 3 from the unseen. And they said, never before seen, never before imagined, wisdom, magic, a fairy tale adventure, quote, right up your alley. And so the quote, right up your alley aspect is that it will be both universal, communal, we the people, Aquarian, unified, so for all, and yet individual. Individually, you will receive this wisdom, this never before seen or imagined wisdom, magic, this fairy tale adventure that's right up your alley. Meaning it's so aligned with you, it's so one with you, that you literally sit in awe and wonder of it. You will literally be amplified, magnified with it, by it. Why? Because it's the next iteration, it's the next advance of humanity, of life, of heaven on earth, of humankind and Mother Earth and everything. And I know this sounds so far-fetched and fairy tale or mythological and so forth. And yet again, I go back to the fact there is myth, there is legend, there is historical fact, biblical fact, there's religious, from multiple, varying religions and histories and everything that speaks to all of this. The Wheel of Fortune, the wheel is turning, the return, the advance, the once-in-a-lifetime activity. And we're right on time. Number 4 from the unseen was, they said, dream bigger. And it has to do with hexagram 42 and increase. And so this is from Carrie Hone, cafeosoul.com. And the action for hexagram 42 is expand. So it's increase, expand. It's hidden influence. We've had this a lot. 23, split apart to regenerate, releasing what doesn't serve to move forward. Its underlying cause is duration, and commit. So there's a time, Wheel of Fortune, there's a time frame, and this commitment to advancing. It says, like springtime, a cycle is beginning in which new growth will continue its forward march toward the apex of summer. Increase is a message about expansion and fullness. Like decrease, increase is simply another cycle of life as it flowers, decays, and achieves rebirth. And keep in mind, we have the annual cycles, but we have epic greater, Pluto, a 240 some year cycle. Uranus, Jupiter, an 84-year cycle. So we have intimate annual cycles, our birthdays, and greater magnified cycles of what flowers, decays, and achieves rebirth. Since the time suggests increase, the universe is supporting growth while opportunities emerge to support your expansion. The wind is moving and dispersing the enormous creative energy of thunder below, and a time of flowering is at hand. The fact that the Sabian symbol is in complement to the Sabian symbols, where Mars is the open window and the curtain and everything, you can't make it up if you try. I love the unseen. The underlying cause of duration can show that after a period of commitment and planning, it is time to put your plan into action. And it's also after this duration of commitment and planning, it's also about the commitment and planning that what we've endured, what we've gone through, the breakdown, the shadow elements, the things that we're having to deal with, to look back at so as to not repeat them. And so there's a commitment, and there's planning, and there's release, taking our hands off the wheel. The hidden influence of split apart shows how regeneration requires the ability to expand. Therefore, a time of increase may also be associated with releasing any self-sabotaging thoughts that undermine forward growth. Old identities, labels, masks, truth, stories, all of these things that we're telling ourselves, any self-sabotaging thoughts that undermine forward growth, they need to be released. There can be a balancing that is necessary where being too conservative is no longer working, and you may need to take a chance on the unknown. See, this is seeing the new, what's before us, the world before us, the one that came before, and the world before us, the one arriving. Well, there may be a balancing act and so forth, because it's about the unknown. The only reason we cling to the past, or we cling to labels and identities and masks and stories, is because they're the beast we know. Well, this whole message is all about releasing the beast we know. The opportunity for growth and expansion is surrounding you, and you need only take advantage of it while it is here. The Wheel of Fortune. You ride the wave. You're either being pummeled by it, or you're riding the wave. And this is one of our first quotes. The wise detect and prepare for the sun's march across the empty sky. So a blank canvas. We're going from the stillness, the standstill, the void, to the illumination, the dawn, the iridescent prism. And it says, the wise detect and prepare for the sun's march across the empty sky. And remember, we have had it over and over again. Here comes the sun, the return. So this, and all of the solar flares and everything that's emanating from the sun right now, directed towards planet Earth. So here comes the sun, S-U-N, and here comes the sun, S-O-N. Revelation. People can talk or reference it or refer to it as the second coming. Things of these, but the point is, the wise detect and prepare for the sun's march across the empty sky. And biblically, in regards to the second coming and Revelation, there's a simple directive. Be ready. And be ready. Be in alignment with innocence, purity, goodness, advance, soul source connection. Release, purify, empty the vessel, purify your shadow elements. Handle them. Carrie Hone goes on to say, if decrease goes on and on, it is certain to bring about increase. When the moon's waning has reached its zenith, it begins waxing. Increase moves gentle and mild. daily progress without limit. Because change is universal in all regularly recurring processes of nature, all things will reach a stage in which they begin to move toward their opposite condition. It's the Wheel of Fortune again. This principle suggests a transition toward fullness. So we're moving towards the fulfillment, this inner fulfillment, spiritual elevation, this cosmic magnifying glass and megaphone, because it brings about collective peace and enjoyment, refinement. We only give credibility, this is so powerful, we only give credibility to observable phenomena, although more than 90% of our universe is comprised of the unseen. And scientists call this the, quote, missing mass problem. When you can begin to discern the movement of nature's unseen aspects, you can prepare for the opportunity that will always arise after a period of decrease. The darkest and most silent hour is always right before the dawn of activity. Here's our second quote. The void is often frightening, although it is pregnant with enormous possibility. So again, this hexagram 42 increase is mirroring the Sabian symbols where it was talking about the pregnant woman, fecundity, and the beauty, the abundance that comes from this. And so both are reaffirming the main message, the same message. This dream bigger, the power of joy and new beginnings, don't stop believing, into the woods, breaking a long-held spell, renewal, refinement, and that there is an awe and wonder because 90% of our universe is comprised of the unseen. Blessed are those who believe but do not see. And scientists call this the missing mass problem. Humans could call this the ego-mind personality problem. Because what have we done? We're saying that 90% of our universe, the unseen, is irrelevant, isn't real, isn't true, doesn't exist. Doesn't exist unless you can prove it. And yet we have physical, as Alicia mentioned, Stonehenge, the great pyramids of Giza. There's the foundation of one of the temples. I'm not sure if it's the Jupiter or massive megalithic slabs that are intricate. Million tons. I may be exaggerating, but they are finely laid. They are the foundation to one of these temples dedicated to one of the gods. And they can't explain, they don't even understand how they were moved. They're not organic. They have been honed and placed like Legos, and they can't explain it. And so, again, this is saying because the last thing, number 5, denoting change that the unseen said was, and it comes from Rodgers and Hammerstein in The Sound of Music. And it's where the Von Trapp children, they sing it twice, but they said, so long, farewell, Avita, say goodnight. So this so long, farewell. And the point that really caught me, it's from The Sound of Music. And that immediately then came in the music of the spheres. And that it's number 5, so this shift in the music of the spheres. The way the unconsciousness, the higher mind, the God mind, original intelligence, and how this shift in the music of the spheres. And so the unseen is saying to us, so long, farewell, Avita, say goodnight, or goodbye. They're making us aware. Remember, they said to us, we're going back to where we began, but an octave higher. No strings attached. So this is saying to us that the way we were, the way it was, the past is no longer. There's an upgrade. There's a revelation. There's an opportunity for us all to receive the new. And the new is an elevated shift, an elevated octave of the music of the spheres. It is what keeps the music of the spheres. It's known as string theory. It's known, and they said no strings attached. So in the new, there's no strings attached. There's no density. It's being elevated and lifted. So we as human beings, Earth, it all elevates and lifts. And the logical mind, ego, mind, personality, logical mind is going to deny that it's true. It's going to deny its existence because it's unknown. Never before seen, imagined wisdom and magic, a fairy tale adventure right up your alley. And yet, what I know for everyone, what I know for myself, and I believe is true for every human being, is that we have an inner knowing of what brings us such great joy, what our purpose is. Not something that's material in nature, but innate in nature. And yet, we have, in essence, not allowed ourselves to allow that to be our raison d'etre in French, our reason for being, what we do in the world, what we offer our fellow human being. And there's a myriad of reasons of shadow that says why what is innate, what is original in us, isn't what we offer the world. I can't make a living at it. Nobody wants it. It's too hard. Yada da 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 da. And yet, a fairy tale adventure right up your alley. It means that we align with it. That what we do going forward, what we do, humans, and COVID really shook the tree. It shook the foundations, these human foundations that had us locked in place. You go to this place, you stay this many years or generations or decades, and you stay confined. And this is what you do, and this is who you are, and this is, and this is, and this is. And COVID came along and disrupted that, completely destroyed that model. And people that were working corporate jobs and doing things or whatever they might, or 9-to-5 jobs or entry-level jobs and everything, all of a sudden went out and started saying, I've always wanted to be a baker, or I've always wanted to be a designer, or I've always wanted to be a musician, or I've always wanted to be an artist, or and they went about creating that life, aligning to that. This is a continuation of that story, of that revelation, of that advance and that truth. That is where we are going. And last but not least, I just want to bring up this image of the High Priestess. Because, and this is from Luminous Tarot by Brigitte Ashwood, the beauty of the High Priestess is that she is the keeper of secrets. She knows all, and she reveals them. She has the pomegranates in the backdrop. She has the crescent moon at her feet. She has Boaz and Yakin, the two pillars and everything, the void and the light. And she has all of this wisdom, magic, knowledge. And in divine time, she reveals it to us. And that is, again, the return and the reverence for the divine feminine, for the unseen, for the magic and the miracles and the opportunities of who we are, what we came to do, and that we came here at this time. We all came in, 8 billion souls that are still, and still coming in, right? And we came in, our souls chose to be here, to experience this time, to usher it in, and to celebrate it, to advance it, to solidify it. That is how we're going to close the month of May, nourished while waiting, patience, and this standstill moment, this anaretic number of 29, and the power and joy of new beginnings. Until then, I hope you're as inspired as I am about this moment. It was a toss-up as to whether or not I was going to take the week off or do the show. And I sat down yesterday and it just flooded in. And I am so glad that I chose to sit down and listen and allow it to come forth. There's great change. And next month is a 6th. So it's about conflict, let go. It's about letting go of the conflict. It's about advance. And so until then, celebrate you, empty your vessel, shine your light, align, and don't stop believing. Cannot wait to see you until next month and next week when we see what's in store from the unseen. Love you all. Be well.
You've been listening to Dearjames Live. Gain intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions and so much more by tuning in next week and visiting dearjames.com.